Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It's the Produce Moms podcast, and I am so excited about today's guest because this is really somewhat of a special edition podcast, too. I was recently announced as a judge for the World Food Championships final table, which is taking place in Bentonville, April 17th through the 20th. So really excited about those forthcoming events. And I thought, you know what? We need to introduce the Produce Moms podcast audience and everyone that our brand touches to the World Food Championships. So today on the Produce Moms podcast, I am joined by Mike McCloud. He is the founder and CEO of the World Food Championships. You are about to be amazed with what this man has built and the way that we are celebrating culinary arts and food service professionals around the world through his events and the broader brand of World Food Championships. So Mike, welcome to the Produce Moms podcast. We're really glad you're here.
Hi, Lori. It's great to be here. It's an honor. That's a big buildup. I hope I live up
You're going to
to
viewers'
expectations.
Really looking forward to Final Table. And before we talk about that event more extensively, why don't you tell people just a little bit more about yourself and how World Food Championships came to be?
So the first thing I'll start with is a confession. I am not a chef. So don't ask me what my favorite dish is. It's usually the one that someone is serving me or has made for me. It's not one that I would create. But my journey into this world began in 2006 when my firm won an agency of record status with the Kansas City Barbecue Society. We spent 12 years working with them and trying to learn all the ins and outs of competition, barbecue, culinary competitions. And through that process, in a fairly quick timeline, we discovered that people who compete, especially in the barbecue industry at that time, were very talented, passionate individuals. They were artisans in their own right, and they were able to do amazing things on a grill or a smoker, things that I didn't even think were possible and probably were nascent at the time. But imagine pizza coming off of a smoker. Imagine a cheesecake coming off of a smoker. When we saw that happening, our team, as we were always trying to push the envelope, the relationship with KCBS was novel. We joined them as a partner. It was one of our roles to not only take them international and expand their mission and achieve their goals, but it was to bring revenue streams to their nonprofit society. So we were always pushing the envelope. And what we learned pretty quickly is that there were other industries popping up. There were burger battles, sandwich slams, dessert offs. Food Network was simultaneously going down the path and creating celebrity chefs at another level, the Guy Fieri's, the Bobby Flays of the world, etc. And so we just felt like there was a lot of fantastic, big, super events for barbecue, but there wasn't a big super event for your home cook or your average chef out there who wanted to prove they were the best at making a eggs Benedict or making an etouffee or anything else. So we charted a course in 2010 that eventually launched the World Food Championships in its first iteration in Las Vegas in 2012. We had 7 categories of iconic food verticals: burger, sandwich, seafood, barbecue, chili, and a few other I don't recall. Burned a few brain cells in the process, obviously. But it was like barbecue shot heard around the world.
Yeah.
Teams came out from everywhere and nowhere and said, I want to be a part of this. And so we realized fairly quickly that we had grabbed a tiger by the tail. And in about 3 years, we had gamed enough of the program and built enough of a platform that I felt like it was time to go all in. So I sold my agency interest. We completed our contract with KCBS, and I looked my staff square in the eye and I said, we're going to get into culinary competitions. We're going to brand it as food sport, and we're going to see how far we can take it. And every year since then, we've just tried to get a little bolder, a little bigger, a little better. Today, we have 10 verticals of food. We have 4 days of programming that coincide with the competition. We have 350 plus teams that will come from all over the world, about 30 countries represented last year, over 40 states. And we are constantly trying to prove out that chefs deserve a couple of things. One, their own Disneyland, and two, their own Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. So if you can imagine in a sporting vernacular, if you take the Super Bowl and March Madness and put that in a bowl with Top Chef or Chopped and stir it up and create an entity, that's what the World Food Championships would be.
That's food sport. So how would you define food sport, Mike? You did create the concept, so how would you define that to someone who's never heard of it?
I think it's hard to define,
right?
Because we still are defining it.
Yeah.
But primarily it's a playing field for talented and passionate cooks, whether they're home cooks, chefs, or pro teams. There are steak teams, chili teams, barbecue teams out there who pursue excellence in barbecue food of some genre. So food sport is the mechanism in which they are able to enter an arena with similar rules, with defined timelines and objectives, right, and know that there are cheferees in the mix to measure their success against others. And sometimes it's very spectator friendly, especially when someone has 8 seconds to go 30 yards and turn in their silver platter of food. Yeah. That's when you actually see the sporting side of their athletic ability as they run down the red carpet. Yeah. And then there are some real subtleties to the sport, the artistic side of it, as to how someone's using some kind of technique to create fantastic dishes. But when you mix it all together, you have, in any given challenge that we do, you have an hour and a half, you have rules that you have to follow, you have dishes that you have to create, and you have expectations to meet for the official judges. And we certify our judges, and we make sure that our judges know how to score a dish fairly and objectively with no internal or past bias. If figure skating in the Olympics can be considered a sport, then culinary competition at World Food Championship is absolutely a sport.
And I can affirm what you just said about how you have expectations of your judges, because I am so excited about my role at the final table coming up in Bentonville. But I have told 5 or 6 people in my personal and professional life, previously, I would approach something that I'm eating as just I like it or I don't like it. I might have a few opinions on how you can improve it, but oh my gosh, when I committed to being one of the judges, I was immediately provided a judge's handbook, several pages long, about all of the different things, all the different expectations, the different things we're looking for as it relates to experiencing the food and what we are about, the traits of the dish that we are evaluating on. I was like, wow, I have a lot to learn as it relates to truly judging food. But I've learned so much, Mike, since just meeting you and your team and learning more about food sport overall. So let's talk a little bit more about your programming. I've mentioned the final table. Let's help people understand what that event is. It's in Bentonville this year. It's been in Bentonville for the previous 3 years, is that correct?
Yeah, this will be our 4th year in a row in Bentonville. And we do it in Bentonville because we have great partners in Walmart and Sam's Club, and they love seeing the innovation that comes from this industry. They sometimes use that in product development, but they sponsor the event, and we are fortunate to be able to do it in Bentonville at a beautiful culinary center called Brightwater, which the Walton family funded and created. It all works hand in hand. But yeah, so the final table is an interesting crescendo moment for our industry that we also took from another sporting endeavor. Back in the day when we started this, we tried to go soup to nuts, from opening rounds to final rounds to a final champion. And over the course of several years as we grew, that became harder and harder to try to book in both of those things in a weekend. In fact, it became impossible. Yeah. And we started adding days. We got to a 3rd day, we got to a 4th day, and eventually we probably would have gone to 7 or 8 days if our pocketbooks would have allowed it and people could take off from work. Because most of these contestants have other jobs. They're pursuing culinary excellence and trying to prove it either to improve the recipe or find another career or get
Right.
TV celebrity out of it. So they do have other obligations and needs. But the final table in 2018 or 2019, I think, we broke it away from the main event. We took a page from the World Series of Poker. I happen to be a poker fan and used to be a poker player. I've since reformed myself from that habit. But just as they used to go through their huge call in the beginning of thousands of contestants, and they got down to 9 who made the final table, they would take a break, about a 2-month break, so that TV could wrap itself around the story of those 9 contestants. And then they went live with that final table in poker. I loved that format. And I thought that possibly has legs for us. So if you can imagine, we take 350 teams ish over the course of 4 days in 10 categories. We're able to do an opening round and a final round and give it a legitimate amount of time for each one of them to perform. And we surface after 4 days with 10 champions. Now, we could go to a 5th day and make them all compete against each other again to see who is the ultimate champion. Or we can do what we do now, which is we take some months, 4 or 5 months, we reformat a new challenge that's fair to all of the contestants. And that takes a lot of planning, by the way. We've got a vegetarian, we've got a pastry champion, and we've got a barbecue champion. How do you create a challenge that is equal or equally challenging to all 3, right? And not giving them a favoritism in some particular manner. So that takes a lot of time, a lot of planning. And that's what we've now set up. Our formula requires about 5 months to get to the final table. These 10 champions will come back. It'll be almost like a high school reunion for them because all of them were hoisting a trophy and a $10,000 check in Indianapolis. And now they're going to go for a $100,000 check in Bentonville, and you're going to help us determine which one of them earns that $100,000 payday.
Just a little pressure.
Better you than me.
I know.
All I got to do is make sure that the guardrails are up, the playing field is level, and everyone has a fair shot.
No, and you guys have done a great job of making me feel well prepared. So I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be phenomenal. So let's walk people through what the rest of the year looks like. So final table's coming up here. It's a spring event. We'll get that champion, the $100,000 prize, which is amazing. And then the planning immediately shifts to some of the forthcoming events that you have, because World Food Championship certainly isn't just the 4-day main event, although that is coming up this fall again. But let's talk about what happens between final table and World Food Championship.
So the best way to think about our arena, our niche of business, is like my son's favorite toy right now, a Rubik's Cube. Yeah. We are constantly moving, constantly trying to get things together on virtually every aspect of the tournament. The new food sports season began January 1. So January 1 through October, late October, is really the moment that contestants, if they didn't make the final table this past time around, they're gearing up to get qualified into the World Food Championships. They have to win somewhere and prove that they're champion worthy. And then they go to Indy in October and enter their category and try to win the challenges that we've designed for that category. And then hopefully they're in the next class of final table contestants. So all of that is currently going on, even though we've spent the last 3-4 months really formatting what does the final table look like. It always includes 3 challenges. Who's involved in those challenges? For example, one of my favorite moments at the final table is the Taste and Recreate Challenge. We go to a celebrated chef in the Bentonville market. He or she serves our 6 contestants who made the first round. We go from 10 contestants down to 6, from 6 to 3, and 3 to the champion. And he serves them a dish after they've been determined as semifinalists, and spends 15 minutes with them, telling them, here's what I made for you. Ask me any questions you want. Understand that I'm not going to answer everything. And they leave his restaurant with a bag of goodies, all the ingredients necessary to make that dish, plus a few extra, so that we can discern their decision-making skills and their palate. They got to taste the dish, and the next day they have to recreate that dish and serve that judge along with 4 other judges. and impress him with his own dish. It is one of the toughest challenges in all of our food sport arena. And a lot of times when you look at the spectrum of what someone has to do to get to this moment, they have to win 6 times. They have to win a qualifier, they have to win 2 times at the main event, and then they have to win 3 times at the final table. We call this the culinary gauntlet. Yeah. To be able to navigate all of this and be the last person standing, the last chef standing, or home cook standing. We have had home cooks win this thing. It takes an incredible personality, it takes determination, it takes planning, it takes preparation, it takes talent, all kinds of things that amaze me when I see it done every year. But to answer your original question, we're constantly making plans for the next main event while we're getting ready to crown the next champion. So it's a Rubik's Cube of planning and execution throughout the year.
I love it. Mike, I know it's going to be a great event in Bentonville. I know it's going to be a great World Food Championships 2026 here in my hometown of Indianapolis. So looking forward to supporting that as well. How do people get involved? Obviously, the most obvious one is, hey, you can attend our events, come be a guest. But how do people get involved? Maybe if someone's listening is thinking, hey, I'd like to see if I can be a competitor. Or if it's a company thinking like, hey, this is a key stakeholder for the brand of product that we produce or grow. How do people get involved? What are all the different ways?
There's numerous ways. We tend to think of the 3 C's, and now probably 4 C's, on the front side of the curtain. You got corporations, you got competitors, you've got consumers, and you got community. Yeah. And we've got a place for everyone. We need volunteers. We need new judges coming into the arena and learning. That's why we do EAT certified classes at the main event. We do create some unusual programming and opportunities to eat the actual food at the championship. This year we'll have a burger battle and a dessert smash and an Ignite barbecue party. And each one of those events, which are ticketed, will feature the contestants of the event. So you get to taste actual food created. As a corporation, we are constantly looking for brands and products that can be integrated into our enterprise. We love to introduce a new product before it even hits the shelves of a retail store to our 350 teams, because it's the only way to get 1,000 chefs and some R&D done before you go to market. So we love putting new products into play. We love putting existing products into play, because all of a sudden you get 20 world-class champions working with your peppermint patty or whatever it is, and you'll see iterations of a recipe you've never thought about as a brand manager. So there's a place for everyone. Go to worldfoodchampionships.com. We've got email operations there that you can plug into us and touch base with us. And our ticketing will go live in May. So sign up, and you'll get alerts on when we start selling tickets to special events. And then there will also be places where you can plug in as a contestant or a volunteer.
I can't wait. And I will see you soon in Bentonville. And if there's anything that we can do here at the Produce Moms, if you're an avid listener of this show and you find yourself interested in learning more about World Food Championships, or if you're inspired to, hey, I've got a product coming up and we really would love to have these chefs showcase it and do some innovation with it, reach out. You can reach out to us. We'll get you in touch with Mike as well. Mike, what a great episode this has been. Thank you so much for sharing your founder journey and your great passion and your incredible vision for food sport. We look forward to supporting it just here in a couple weeks and year round here at the Produce Moms.
Thank you. I can't wait to see you at the final table. And don't forget, bring an appetite.